JoAnn and I'm back again with Words with JoAnn, and I'm so glad to be back again at this unprecedented times. I hope you're all doing well, you're keeping safe, and you're staying healthy. And I know this is really times where we just need to stay safe, wear our mask regularly, wash our hands, try to keep clean, avoid touching on faces, because of there are different ways COVID can get into your system through open places such as your mouth, your eyes, and your nose. And that's why with some people, we always have to wear our face mask and our shields when we're outside or interacting with people. Also, we need to reduce the times we're trying to socialize with people, reduce the number of people we hang around with, while maintaining social and physical distance. I know sometimes which is so difficult to get by and deal with, but because of what's going on at this time, we just still need to, ensure that we keep safe, we stay healthy, and, avoid doing things that can expose not just yourself, but expose members of your family to this ravaging disease that is really affecting the entire world. But again, I'm glad to see everyone here, and I'm glad to know that so many of you are keeping tab on my videos, even though it's not been consistent because there's so much going on around me now at this point in time with my schoolwork, trying to round up my dissertation, and with school resuming and making sure my kids are well settled in school, knowing fully well that schools are not the same way as it used to be. So today I'm going to be sharing one beautiful book with you, my subscribers, and also I will encourage you, if you can get, this book, get it, read it, even if not for you, but for someone around you. It's a very big book, very, very big book, yeah? And that is Far from the Tree. I'm sure we've all heard this analogy that the apple does not fall far from the tree. And that's what Andrew Solomon is talking about, far from the tree. Imagine if a child is born with a deformity or a disability or something that it's not in the gene of the parents. Would you say, oh, the apple does not fall far from the tree? And this is what Andrew Solomon is trying to bring up from this book, where he interviews families and parents and children in a bid to search for identity, and the focus of this book is centered around 12 key topics, and I'm just going to read them out to you, even though I promised I will not read from some of the books to you, so that would encourage you. Just hear what I have to say about the book, and then you go grab a copy. And I'm not, again, advertising for the publishers, but I'm just sharing my passion about the books I've read. And before I go on, I can't remember how I stumbled on this book, Far from the Tree, but I think it was in a bid of searching for books I need to read and books that will prepare me for my dissertation writing, because my dissertation, I focused really on, interviewing 6 young adults that I taught 25 years ago. Yes, 25 years ago, their parents and teachers, educators alongside with me, who I worked with in the past 10-15 years. We found ourselves, 4 of us are special educators. We found ourselves that we all had the same kind of, trajectory with our profession, where we all taught in segregated schools, that's schools for people with just purely schools for people with disability. For example, school for the blind, or school for the deaf, or school for the intellectually disabled. And then after a while, we all found ourselves in the same kind of context, which we call integrated school or integration or mainstream schools, where kids are placed in the same school, but not necessarily in the same classroom, or even when they're in the same classroom, they are not afforded the same curriculum or the same lesson as their regular peers. So they're just placed in the classroom, but they're not included. They're not doing the same academic work as their peers. And even sometimes during social programs, they're also excluded. So that's what mainstream is all about. But now, I mean, amazingly, 3-4 of us are now advocating for inclusion. That, okay, what's the next step? We can't keep on separating these kids from regular academic curriculum or regular school, because the world is not a segregated place. Virtually, we all go to the same stores, we all take the same transit, we all go on the same airplane, we all find ourselves in the same spaces. So why can't we make school the same, even if we're going to sort of like adapt or modify the curriculum, but as long as those kids are in the same spaces as their regular peers. And so we found ourselves in those spaces. And so in my search for people who done some work around interviewing parents or interviewing people with disabilities, I found myself doing an intensive search for books. And that's how I stumbled on Far From the Tree by Andrew Solomon. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing author who interviewed so many. I mean, I was going to share with you earlier on that he wrote, this book has 7 chapters, or 7 chapters, and he looked at chapters around the son, which is himself, talking about himself as a son. He also has a chapter about deaf people, about dwarfs, about people with Down syndrome, autism, schizophrenia, disability, prodigy, rape, crime, transgender, and also as a father. So, for me, this is amazing. This is wow. This is a wow book in the sense that he touched on each chapter, sort of like dwells, and he digs into books and research and memoirs around this field. People who are living with this, people who are parenting children, or people living with these forms of disability, how they're navigating spaces within the society. I'm just going to read something from you on the Down syndrome page, where on the Down syndrome page where somebody just quickly get a page. Okay, it says Jason would hug strangers and didn't understand why they weren't friends. He wanted to attend sleepaway camp, but after he'd been there a week, Emily got a call saying that the other kids didn't like him and didn't like how he kept hugging everyone. Some parents had said that if Jason didn't leave, they were going to pull their own kids away. When he played soccer, he would forget or not understand which team he was on. The typical kids who had been his friends began to snigger. He continued to play with toys for small children, and he watched cartoons and beamed at kids half his age. It seemed that the miracle was unraveling. He would be a TV star and a successful author, but he could not function in mundane settings. You see that, this is someone who had the capacity to do so many things, but listening to that where other parents were going to pull their kids away from a camp because there's a child with Down syndrome, that is disheartening. And for me, in my research, it happened like that where, so many people are not accommodating. And Andrew Solomon is bringing this to fore from this research, from this book, and this book is, yes, longitudinal research he's done with so many forms of people, different people in different contexts, and that said, I will encourage, everyone to try and get this book. I'm going to read something from the disability page. It said, siblings of severely disabled children have been studied extensively, but with inconclusive results. One study mentions that persons with disabled siblings felt that living with a disabled brother or sister help them to be more responsible, to be more tolerant, better able to see the good in others. They develop a better sense of humor and be more flexible. However, these siblings also reported embarrassment, guilt, isolation, and concern about the future of their disabled sibling. On this note, I would like to stop here because, each chapter I've read in this book, you can see with all the notepads and with my bookmarks here, for each time I read a page, I have my aha moment. And I'm wondering, as an educator and as a parent, an educator, a special needs educator, an inclusive educator, what does the future hold for these kids? How can we be more culturally responsive to people of all of these categories that Andrew Solomon has listed? And, I'll stop here, but I will encourage everyone, read this book, get a copy of it, read a chapter. And the truth be told you, I have actually 2 copies. I have the paper copy and the hardback copy. That is my love, my passion for books. And so next week, I'm going to be talking about someone else. I love reading his books. I think I've virtually read all his books to this newest one, Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. Wow, this is also another good book. And I've read literally all his books. Yes, I hope. From Tipping Point to The Outliers to Blink or to When the Dog Saw. If you're a Malcolm Gladwell's fan, I will encourage you to get some of his books to read. So I'll be talking more about this and hope to see you next week. Take care then. Bye-bye.